How to be a smooth talker, part two. So today we're going to dive deeper into this concept of being silky smooth when we're talking to people and interactions. And what I did in the first video was describe a little bit to you guys about some of the characteristics of a smooth talker, not all of them, but a few. And then I gave you some tips to start that process. And today I'm going to take one, potentially two of those concepts, and I want to dive a little deeper into it, right? And today what I really want to focus on in regards to being a smooth talker is the storytelling aspect of it, because smooth talkers turn everything into a story. Everything from the most insignificant thing that happened in their day, they can speak about it in a way that's awe-inspiring, or at the very least, they take something that's not interesting and the way that they speak about it makes it extremely interesting. So when it comes to storytelling, this is something you guys need to understand. When you watch a movie, when you watch a great documentary or something like that, that's essentially what it is. It's telling you a story from start to finish, right? And typically you have three parts of a story: the introduction, the climax, and something in the middle, right? That's the peak, and then the end. And that's typically how you want to look at that whole framework of storytelling. Now, the intricate pieces of storytelling get a little bit more nuanced, and it has a lot to do with your delivery and things of that nature. And I'm just going to break down a few of them to keep this thing simple for you, because storytelling is this is why it's so impactful when we talk to people. Storytelling is the most human thing we can do, because when you look back hundreds of years, thousands of years, the primary method for teaching things, handing down wisdom, the elders teaching the next generation, was primarily through storytelling. And through the storytelling, they could do demonstrations, live demonstrations, reenactments, and that really is what passed on the knowledge and instilled values and tools and all that stuff into people over the years, compared to the modern day classroom learning where all of you are banging your head on the desk, falling asleep, and you don't like it. Storytelling is a lot more animated, it's more impactful, it's more engaging, and it makes it easier for people to assimilate information. But the key component in there is it's entertaining. If you want to be a great storyteller, if you want to be a great communicator, there's three things I want you to write down, because this also applies to social media. You want to educate, inform, and entertain. Educate, inform, entertain. Okay? Informing, think of the newscaster. He's just giving you information, informing about the weather. Educate is a lot what you get on this channel, where I give you information, but I educate you on how to apply it, ways of understanding it, right? Things that you can do out there, exercises to really get this information to soak in and for you to really understand it, therefore educating you on the subject. And the last piece, which I know I bring, is entertainment. Watching me is entertaining, whether through my delivery, the jokes that I crack, and all that stuff. So I've kind of demonstrated that package to you over the years, and it's one of the reasons that I could delete a 200,000 YouTube channel and start one over, and it's taking off, because I know I have that package and I can replicate that wherever I go. So when it comes to storytelling, you want to be able to do that too. Now, when it comes to storytelling, right? Let's get into it. A lot of it is your delivery. And when I say delivery, meaning it's not what you say, it's not the script or the words. It is literally how you're going to express it and demonstrate it to people. So some simple stuff that you can use immediately. If you're brand new to this, or you're not good, and you're even more of a rookie, or we can say amateur communicator, in the sense that you're not really developed yet, you don't really have your style, and you don't understand a lot of the concepts that I've discussed over the years. This is what you need to do. As you're going to tell a story, one of the easiest things you can do is, as you're telling it, envision yourself living it while you're telling it. This makes it so much easier for you to have a more impactful delivery. Now, later on, you don't have to do that, but in the beginning, it's super essential, because what it does is, in your mind's eye, you're literally there. So if you're telling a story about how you were with your parents and you guys were sitting at a table and you're describing it to people, if you literally envision yourself being in that moment while you're describing it to them, you'll start to light up, you'll start to smile. You're like, yeah, my uncle was over here and he was smiling, and then my other uncle was over here and he was upset. You'll literally start embodying, physiologically replicating that memory. This is what allows people to connect with the story that much more, and literally and figuratively bring it to life. And when you bring things to life, people can really connect to it. Now, the difference between like a movie made by Time Warner or Warner Brothers or something like that, right? Versus you telling the story is they activate more senses. They're getting you visually, they're getting you with the sound, you're in that particular environment, right? And they can really like hijack your consciousness in a way and just completely wrap you up in the story. So it's a lot more difficult to replicate that when you're talking to people, which is why your delivery has to be so on point, from the fluctuations in your voice to, again, the physiological moves. But let's focus on that first one. I want you to remember or envision what these things are that you're describing as you're going through the motions and telling them to people. When you do that, you bring life to the story and automatically your delivery is going to get better. Okay? Here's another one that you need to focus on. Having a wider range and more dynamic speech. When you go back to the example that I gave you in the beginning of teaching, right? The old PowerPoint boring presentation. Well, one of the reasons it was boring is our teachers, you would agree, at least the ones that we didn't like or didn't think much of, they were very monotone. Hey class, let's open up the book to chapter 5 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Very monotone. There's no dynamics or range in their voice and in their delivery. It would make you fall asleep, right? So one of the easiest things you can do, and I'm demonstrating it to you right now, is by having a wider range in your voice. So sometimes you're going to go really, really low, and then you're going to bring it up like this. And then you're going to vary up your speed fast, and then sometimes you're going to slow it down. Because when it comes to speed and volume, the more that you have this dynamic range, the more that it makes your speech and your story interesting. Why? We pick up as human beings on patterns. And when we recognize patterns, we shove that thing into our subconscious mind. It doesn't take much brain power anymore. Therefore, we kind of tune it out. But if something is keeping you at the edge of your seat and throwing you off, and that range is like this, it forces people to pay attention. This is why I remember one time in Texas, an event that we did years ago, when I started my speech, boom, I slammed my foot hard as hell on the stage. It was like, boom. And it was, pretty deep into the day. Like the event started at 9 a.m. and I didn't speak until like right after lunch. And then we had a couple more speakers after me. So people were already falling asleep and kind of checking out. But as soon as I went, boom, everyone just like jumped out of their seat and they were just hooked. And I remember after that speech, people said, man, your speech was like the most impactful. And I know one of the reasons was because of that moment. Why? They were used to all the speakers doing this. And here I come and boom, I hit them with the. And then again, I walked through the audience, which no other speaker did. I had ranges in my voice where sometimes I was super freaking loud. And then other times I was whispering like this. But I understand the range, changing the speed. And if you really want to compartmentalize it simply, think range and speed, and then volume and tone. Think of it that way. So sometimes I'm going to speak super, super slow, and then other times I'm going to speak super fast like this. And same thing with the range here. Volume going up and down. So just think volume and speed to start. Let's forget about the tonality and all the intricacies, but think just volume and speed. So when we have, again, in your mind's eye, you're envisioning it, you're embodying the story, and now you have a little bit of range in your volume and your speed. Now you're starting to throw in these ingredients to this recipe of being a smooth talker, because it's the accumulation of all of these pieces that then creates that perfect symphony, so to speak, of you being a speaker where people will listen. Now, I look on the back end, on the analytics, and the watch time on my videos is astronomical compared to most people. If I do a 20 or 21 minute video, the average watch time is like 12 minutes. That's over 50%. That's like 60% almost. Do you guys know what it is? Average on YouTube, it's horrible. It's like 10%, 20% for like the top people. I'm getting more than 3 or 4 times that. It's not because of my editing. My background isn't fancy. It's the fact that it's interesting material per se, but it's also the delivery. I know I'm communicating in a way that's getting people to pay attention more. And there's a reason that I don't do jump cuts and frame cuts and all that. I don't want an audience that needs that to hold their attention. I want people who are studious, who want to come here and really pay attention and learn. Because we've done that with my editors in the past. I don't want to do that. Can you be so engaging that people don't need any of that stuff? Because one of the products of that, and then I'll start giving you some more tips, is people get lost when you speak. I do, hour-long, hour and a half, 2-hour trainings for my coaching and my team members all the time on a weekly basis, like multiple days. And some people, like when I end, I'm like, okay, we're done. I'm like, wow, it's been, almost 2 hours. Like, wow, I didn't even feel like 2 hours. It felt like, 10 or 20 minutes. Exactly. Because they're lost in the moment, right? They're so into what we're talking about and paying attention that time just ceases to exist. That's what you want. That's when you have people hooked and they're interested. Isn't that amazing? Because I can tell you, it's an incredible feeling to be able to, and I can go out and do that with anybody. I can just go out and talk to strangers and start doing that. And I've heard it. Like as soon as I start talking, they're like, wow, you're a really good speaker. It's not like I'm trying. It's just how I am now and how I'm wired. But I know I can get people's attention. So imagine I give that to you. Wouldn't it be so much easier to generate leads for your business or do phone calls or approach people or go door to door or kill it at your meetings and presentations? This is the ticket, y'all. Because when people think smooth talker, they think, oh, well, somebody who's going to be a scammer or somebody who's just going to try to, pick up girls. And if you want to do that, cool. But I don't promote just scamming and doing all that shit because it's a waste of time. Why would you do that? You're now taking this art form and using it to harm people. It's stupid. Why would you do that? That's why I always promote a high level of ethics with everything that I do. Take this stuff and use it ethically. Use it to better the world, not make it worse. All right, let's get back to storytelling. End of rant. So we have the variation in speed and volume to keep it simple so far. We have envisioning and being there as you're telling the story. Well, what are some other things, right? The other thing is involving the people that you're talking with. Meaning, you're touching them, you're moving them. Like, hey, let me show you. Okay, my dad was here. Hey, you come here, right? Involving them in the story. Tapping them on the shoulder. I can say something and say, hey, can you relate to that? Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? And then getting back to your story. You start involving your audience, the people, whether it's 1, 5 people, 10 people, doesn't matter. Include them in the story. Make them feel like they're a part of it. Or as I'm talking, I can acknowledge if somebody's lighting up, I can say, oh, has this happened to you? Oh yeah, I can tell. Little acknowledgments and things like that. Oh my God, that makes it so much better. Because now people are feeling heard and they feel literally involved with your story. But this is also a way for you to break the touch barrier with people, which, by the way, makes them extremely comfortable with you. And those of you who watch these videos, again, if you're interested with the opposite sex, like a man and a woman or a woman and a man, breaking the touch barrier is very important for proceeding that interaction or relationship down that road. If that's what you want to do, you're going to have to eventually break the touch barrier. But doing these storytelling formats gives you, in a way, plausible deniability to touch people and move them around, shake their hand, okay? He put his arm around me like this. It gives you that plausible deniability, but it allows you to smooth talker, right? Smoothly break that touch barrier. Hey, let me see your hand. Okay, blah, 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 da, 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 da. He had a ring on. Oh yeah, let me see your hand. A ring just like this one, yeah, right? This is a smooth way of doing it. But when you start involving the audience, it gives you the plausible deniability to touch and do all that, right? Now, touching and moving people is just one way of doing it, but I'm giving you that example because we're supposing that you're telling a story. And when you tell a story that involves other people or circumstances, you're typically going to have some situations where you will include the people, ask them questions, or move them around and say, hey, everybody was standing in a line. So yeah, you guys can get in a line, da-da-da. This person was at the front, and they suddenly turned around and went to the back, right? You catch my drift here. We're involving the audience. When they're involved in it, they become a part of the story. Therefore, requiring that they pay attention and also entertaining them more because now they're participating in something. Because that's another piece of this puzzle that's not just attached to storytelling, but it's one of the overarching parts of being a smooth talker is you include people and they participate. It's not just you talking about yourself or whatever. You include them. I'm including them in that moment in my world, and I'm attracting them in like a magnet and pulling them in to this moment into my world. They're going to get lost in my world, in my imagination, in my story. That's the way you see it, because a smooth talker views themselves as the main character in the story. right? And everything and everyone that comes across it. Now people can say, well, it's kind of arrogant. Well, in their mind, I understand where you're coming from. They don't view it that way though. They're not doing it from a point of, look at me, I'm so cool. It's just everything that they're doing comes from that perspective as if they're in a movie. It's not coming from a position of cockiness or arrogance. It's just that's their world, their imagination, their story, right? And then as they tell it and as they live it and as they bring people through it, they're going to get a taste of it. That's kind of how it's almost like an artist, right? And they're sharing their creativity and their story with the world. That's really what it is. But when a smooth talker does it, it doesn't come off as arrogant or all that. It doesn't. People are just obliged and happy to be a part of the story, and they'll remember it as a moment, because when they leave those moments, it's like he or she planted a seed in their mind. But they're like, oh man, I met that one dude, he was interesting. Like I still get DMs from people from a short interaction that we had a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. And they're like, I've never forgotten that. It's crazy, but that's the impact of communication. That's the impact of storytelling. That's the impact of understanding some of these things. It's truly, truly powerful. So today we talked a little bit about storytelling, right? You could talk all day about storytelling. I just gave you a few things because, again, storytelling in itself is a bit more advanced, especially when you're talking to strangers or if you're doing a speech. But it's something that you have to keep at the forefront of your mind and really start to work on and develop, right? And refine even more and make better and better and better. So when you overall work on your communication, it's naturally going to spill over into your storytelling. But you really got to start to think of circumstances and things in your life and start to practice telling stories about them. That way you can become better at describing it. And as you do it more and more and more, it'll start getting better. And this is why you guys have to keep reading and keep studying and keep learning from people and have somebody to kind of coach you in your corner with this stuff. Because that's another reason, like for my coaching program, I do Toastmasters on Sunday. Toastmasters is a public speaking organization that you can go to work on your public speaking. I created my own mini version of it in my coaching program, and we meet every Sunday night and we do table topics, which are on the spot speeches, short ones. And then we have certain people who are assigned formal speeches every week. And then we do those. Those are 5 to 7 minutes long. And then we could critique and grade each speech, whether it's a table topic or a formal speech. But this is another way for people to constantly refine their storytelling and speaking abilities in front of an audience. And we do it over and over and over and over. And it's crazy to see the improvement in a lot of these people. They become more happy, smiley. They're a lot more confident. They're more comfortable. It's easier for them to make social media content. Their everyday conversations are getting better. They say their family life and personal life has gotten better from it. But it's all stemmed in communication. Now, eventually, these people can become smooth talkers. But in the beginning, you got to become comfortable. And once you become comfortable and you've laid a foundation, then you can start planting the seeds so that you yourself can become a silky smooth talker, because that's what it's about. All right. Make sure you guys check out some of the free resources in the description, especially you salespeople or realtors. I got a ton there. If you want more specialized coaching and training on this stuff, I do offer it on my platforms as well. I offer a 90-day sprint for the salespeople and entrepreneurs, but I also have the full Distinguished Agent Comprehensive Coaching Program that's open to everybody, whether you're in sales and real estate or not. I have a ton of diversity in that program for sure, from insurance salesmen to non-sales people to 9-to-5ers to people from all walks of life. All right. Anything else I can do for you, let me know. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment for the algorithm, and we'll see you on the next one. All right. Peace.